Hey, everybody. So in our curriculum, as we're learning more about the elections, especially the 2020 campaign, we're going to be looking not just at how political campaigns are run, but also how the media and interest groups are involved in that process. Interest groups is also going to be related to our PACs and super PACs. So in this video, I'm going to be going through a reading with you guys about the media and its role in our democracy, as well as interest groups. So first of all, what is the media? You've definitely heard that word a bunch of times. Media includes a lot. The word media means different things depending on how it's used. Media is the plural form of the word medium. A medium is a method of communicating information. So like if you're an artist, you have different mediums. A painter, their medium is paint. A sculptor, their medium is iron or clay. So it's the method of communicating information. Television is one popular medium. Radio, the internet, and cell phones are all examples of commonly used media. This would also include things like your social media as well. The term mass media refers to methods of communicating with large numbers of people. A lot of media exists purely for entertainment, such as movies and television sitcoms. But when you hear the phrase the media, it's usually referring to the sources of our news and information about current events. Paying attention to the media is how we stay informed about what's going on in the world around us and what our government's doing. So we talk about the media as a gatekeeper. A gatekeeper is somebody who stands at the gate and decides who gets to pass through and who doesn't. In its role as a gatekeeper, the media decides which stories and issues are important enough to receive public attention and which aren't. The media would not report, Miss McClatchy made bomb burgers tonight. Like, nobody cares about that. I care about it. But that's not, as the gatekeeper, if you call Channel 10 News, they're going to say that's not really important. As a citizen, though, it's important for you to realize there are many serious events and issues that you won't even hear about on the evening news. And that's a kind of a weird concept. What do you mean I won't hear about it? If it's a real story, why would I hear about it? But each news outlet has its own criteria for deciding which stories get through the gate and into the public eye. To understand why, you need to understand two things. The media is a business, and the media is almost always biased. So let's look at it as business, the B for business. Most people get their news from television, radio, or newspaper, either print or online. With the exception of PBS, the public broadcasting system, most are commercial and for-profit sources. So at this point as well, NPR is a nonprofit, the National Public Radio. Besides PBS and NPR, the news organizations make money by selling time or space to advertisers. Advertisers won't pay for ads nobody will see. So for-profit media companies must make the news as exciting as possible to attract lots of viewers. But let's face it, news programs are not always as exciting as, say, action films. In order to survive in today's culture, television news must keep things short, fast-paced, and exciting. On the hour, radio news is even shorter, meaning every hour you might hear like a 1 to 2 minute blurb about what's been going on. Stories most likely get through the gate are those that are the most gripping. Ever wonder why the news is full of car crashes and house fires? Because it's exciting, it's entertaining, or that affect the most number of people. So if the story can't be told in a quick 15-second soundbite, it's likely to not make it onto the news. Let's look at as B for biased. Bias means favoring one view over another. As a human being, it is impossible to completely be unbiased, even if you try. The media is made up of human beings, and therefore, even when media outlets try to be unbiased, they're not always successful. Bias may cause the media to open the gate to some stories instead of others, or to report stories in a way that is weighted towards one side. There are many causes of bias. The most common among media sources is being more politically liberal, leaning more towards Democrats, or conservative, leaning more towards Republicans. In an anecdotal way, I can tell you that Fox News is your very biased Republican view, whereas CNN and MSNBC is going to be your very biased liberal view. I personally, based on my media consumption, would say that NPR is the least biased, simply because they can produce news free from this fixation on making profits. Their budget all comes from donations. So when they're producing their news, they're not wondering, oh, well, will this get us ad time or not? Because they don't run any advertisements. So since they don't rely on advertisements for funds, in my opinion, I think that they're the least biased news source. Also, because of its role as a gatekeeper, the media is largely responsible for deciding what issues society discusses in the public sphere. Public sphere is like our shared space, our shared communication zone. That means the media also determines which issues are on the public agenda, which is the to-do list of issues the public agrees are a priority. An issue won't get on the public agenda unless it is being discussed in the public sphere. And it won't be discussed in the public sphere if nobody's heard of it. For example, public agenda, fix healthcare, more solar power, lower taxes, right? What are the things that people care about the most? The media's role as agenda setter is controversial. Some people don't think for-profit corporations should set our public agenda. They worry that many important issues will never get public attention. Some issues just aren't exciting enough to compete with entertainment. Others are too complex to fit into a short soundbite. Although the public decides which issues to care about, the media only tells the public about a few of the issues that exist. Therefore, people worry that the public does not really have much of a choice about what issues are important. People also worry that a biased media influences the public agenda toward one way of thinking over another. How cute is the little dog? I guess we should point that way. How cute is this little pupper? A real watchdog, so we're talking about the media as a watchdog. A real watchdog stands guard and barks loudly to alert the owner if something's wrong. In its role as watchdog, the media keeps watch on the government and others in power. It speaks out to alert the public if something happens that shouldn't. Local news stations often have a segment in which they investigate problems for people. Entire hour-long news shows are sometimes devoted to exposés, which are stories designed to expose wrongdoing. Government officials who engage in bad behavior know that they will be on every single news show and newspaper in the country if they're caught. Although a watchdog will bark when there's something wrong, most of the time the watchdog just watches. Thanks to the media, we live in a world where we can turn on the television and watch our government in action at any given moment. Stations such as C-SPAN broadcast activity directly from the floor of Congress for anyone and everyone to see. Simply reporting information is playing watchdog too. Without the media, we would not know what is happening behind closed doors. A watchdog, however, doesn't do any good if nobody's paying attention. The public sphere and the public agenda both depend on the same thing, the public, which is made up of people like you. If the media reported an event and nobody watched or responded, it would have no influence at all. In the same way, the public influences the media because the media cannot function without people's attention. How people respond to the media's reporting can affect which stories get through the gate. So, in summary, why is this important? Well, we talk a lot about the media, especially like our current president, President Trump. He has a very bad relationship with the media. Sure, you've heard of the fake news idea about what's fake news. You'd have to look at it and form your own opinion. I personally, I often find that when the president calls something fake news, it's not fake. He just doesn't like how the story is being reported. But I think another problem with the media is it's not how things are reported, but what's not reported. The things that you don't know. So I wanted to give you guys this reading, go over with you, just to give you this idea of what the media is, because it's a word that you guys use all the time, mostly for social media, but you're going to be hearing it a lot in the election cycle.